John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm really interested by that bitter, twisted, reverse almost racist speech from that member. Patronising.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker. Cannot accuse anybody of racism.
Yeah, the point of order is upheld.
I withdraw racism and I'll insert patronising. And I'd like to point that member out. I'd like to point the member to...
Point of order. Ian Lees-Galloway.
Speaker, I take offence by that member's comments and I ask that you request him to withdraw and apologise.
The point of order is not upheld.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to point the Labour member for Palmerston North in the direction of the New Zealand Law Commission report published in October 2008. And I have reason to believe that the boss of the Law Commission is an ex-Labour Prime Minister. Is that right? My point is this, and I will quote.
Order.
And I will quote from Sir Geoffrey. A further problem with the current state of the New Zealand statute book is that a number of redundant acts and provisions remain in force and needlessly clutter the law. Some old acts in the annual tables, but are totally obsolete. And Mr. Palmer points out, for example, the New Zealand Institute of Journalists Act of 1895 and the District Railways Purchasing Act of 1885 both remain in force. And both are completely disused and unusable today. And we've been having earthquakes in Christchurch, so let me tell you about another piece of useless law. It's the Hawke's Bay Earthquake Act of 1931. And I quote from Sir Geoffrey, "This Act still exists but has not been reprinted since 1931. It was not even included in the supposedly comprehensive 1957 reprint." Sir Geoffrey says, and Kamal Bakshi, my colleague, my very sensible colleague, he has read this and he understands that nothing is to be gained from cluttering the presence of these obsolete acts and provisions. They add clutter, no value to the statute book. And as Sir Geoffrey, your erstwhile leader, said, repealing them would be helpful. An accessible, navigable and clear statute book should have no dead wood. And I suggest to the Labour Party it could get rid of its Palmerston North dead wood, because that man doesn't have a chance of being re-elected in the next election when Palmerston North returns to National. And I commend my colleague, Mr. Kamal Bakshi, for a very, very sensible,
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, it is an important part of my culture that Indian names be pronounced properly. The member has made no efforts, and I ask him to do so.
I'm not sure. There's so much order. Let me just say there's so much noise that I am not able to determine or make judgment about the accuracy of the nomenclature.
Mr. Speaker, he certainly is not Mr. Kamal or something like that, Bakshi. He has a wonderful name given to him by his parents, and the member should at least try to pronounce it properly.
Yes, and it's a Sikh name, not an Indian name, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would simply suggest that people should stop being misled by obsolete law that masquerades as live law. With those words, Mr. Chairman, I support 100% my colleague and his bill, and I look forward to it coming to our committee.
Dr. Rajan Prasad.